Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about person-to-person networking techniques. In a previous video, we've laid out the different steps that we identify as part of the technique as being breaking the ice, creating rapport with the other person, the mutual exchange of information during the conversation, and then closing out the interaction in a professional way, and then following up. All of this goes into how you turn someone you meet or an acquaintance into a professional connection. Okay, so to start with, breaking the ice. Breaking the ice is just as it sounds. How are you going to get someone's attention to start a conversation? Well, the first thing to remember is that you don't want the other person to believe that you simply want something of them. Okay, people become guarded in that way. They don't open up well. The creating of rapport, the next step, becomes extremely difficult. So in breaking the ice, you're simply trying to engage someone in some level of, one, having them acknowledge you and you acknowledging them, but also identifying some level of commonality, some level of similar interest, or some level of simply noting or noticing something that's going on, right? That can start the conversation that, again, is the segue into creating rapport. Okay, so there is no single technique for breaking the ice with somebody, but you need to be perceptive about the room. You need to identify things that are going on. You need to be creative in coming up with things that you can talk about that appear to be some level of commonality at the time. Anything from you have the same shoes on to you knowing a similar person, or you having at least knowledge that somebody's in a given career field or path, that type of thing, right? So anyway, scanning the environment, using the information you have, bringing up, again, some level of commonality in some regard. All right. Then there's creating rapport. Creating rapport is all about demonstrating that you understand the other person and that the other person understands you. All right, and this is normally done through demonstrating, again, a commonality of interest, beliefs, and values. Values being the most important, but again, comes later because it's very difficult to identify those up front. But interests and beliefs, once again, interest being first, and then ultimately stepping into beliefs and then values. So how do you create rapport? Simply through conversation. Asking questions of the other person, listening intently, actively taking part in the conversation. One of the best ways is to avoid saying me or I. If you can practice that, having a conversation in which you avoid saying me or I, it will cause you to be engaged in the other person. It will cause you to want to get them to speak instead of you speaking. It will cause you to be more interested in them. And we all have this internal need to express ourselves in some way. Everyone's favorite subject, believe it or not, is themselves, even if they aren't willing to talk about themselves, right? They themselves still is their favorite subject because that is who or what they deal with all day long. So that being said, giving somebody the right opportunity, creating in some way an obligation in them to talk about themselves, right? They start to believe that they are understood, right? And then they start to once again reciprocate and start to ask questions about you. And that's how you move into the next stage of the mutual exchange of information that is relevant for career development purposes. Okay, so in the creating rapport, you're obviously going to exchange a lot of information. You're going to get to know the person and hopefully start marching down that trail of interests, beliefs, and values. Okay, but that being said, at some point in time, you need to communicate the things that you need the other person to know about you in order for them to really make that transition as a professional connection. And in a separate video, we identify those things as what you want, why you want it, and what you've done to get it. Okay. Now, nobody wants to just hear your elevator pitch, right? That this is my name, this is what I've done, I've gone to school, I've worked here, that type of thing, right? That's not highly valuable in person-to-person networking. Rather, you need to introduce that information in a way that seems like you're not just trying to tell about yourself, or you're not trying to garner attention, or you're not trying to establish some connection where the other person can help you. One of the best ways is to ask questions of others that are along those lines. Things in the neighborhood of, so what career, what industry do you work in? What position, what type of position do you hold? Oh, what is that like? What do you do on a daily basis? What do you aspire to? All of these types of questions, one, gets the person talking, then you can become more detailed. Well, what did you do to get there? And asking very knowledgeable, targeted questions, like, if it's an accountant, asking, oh, okay, so did you take the CPA licensure? Did you, I know you have to go for extra school beyond undergraduate sometimes to do that, or you have to do another 30 hours. Did you do that route, or did you go for a master's of accounting? Right? Showing that you understand somebody's career field and you have these good questions, once again, it makes them more open and prone to talk about themselves, to answer your questions sincerely, honestly, because they see that you're knowledgeable on the topic, and again, they want to be forthcoming and talk about themselves and answer your question, that type of thing. And eventually they will reciprocate, and they will reciprocate with the same types of questions. Now, here the art form is to answer questions that are reciprocated back to you in a way that the question does not die. Okay, so someone asks you, and so what do you do? Well, I do this, it was kind of a transition for me. Before that, I was working in a completely different field. And just kind of tail off there. Well, the next question is, well, what field were you working in? That type of thing. It doesn't have to be that blatant in how you leave off and beg the next question type thing. Oftentimes, that same thing can be done. You can leave something of interest there simply by saying, oh, but that reminds me, I wanted to ask you, have you? And then you turn the question back on them, so it takes the next step, and it may give you more fodder for introducing something about yourself interesting, but only do it in the context of, this is about you. Oh, that's very interesting. I experienced this, and then follow up with a question about them. Never end it with simply saying something about yourself. Always keep the conversation going by reciprocating with a question. And that mutual exchange back and forth will seem like it's unintentional, like it's just individuals getting to know each other, that type of thing. And once again, by the time it's said and done, the other person will understand what you want, why you want it, and what you've done to get it. That type of thing, right? Now, once that's happened, you can't stay there talking all night, right? You have other people to talk to. The person you've met has other people to talk to. But to close out the interaction in a professional way that makes it meaningful, shaking hands with the person, telling it was nice to meet them, perhaps exchanging business card, but also saying I'll try to reach out to you or connect with you on LinkedIn. So, but inviting them that if you ever need anything, you just let me know if I can help you anyway, that type of thing, right? Being genuine, being, you offering your assistance before, they are offering theirs, that type of thing. Once again, it's a very positive, professional way to close out the conversation. It has opened them up to the expectation that you may follow up with them sometime. And within the next day or two, before you're out of mind or they forget things about you, follow up with them. Send them an email that was listed on their business card. Find them on LinkedIn and connect with them and send a personal message about, it's very nice talking to you about this, very interesting, blah, 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 right? Whatever the things are that you've talked about. And just simply follow up. Now, keep the person top of mind, right? You've connected with them on LinkedIn, perhaps put their name in Google Alerts, so if anything ever comes up about them and that company or their company, that type of thing, you have something of interest to start a conversation, even if it's via email. But the easiest is through LinkedIn, once again, where you're posting the article, you're sending it to them, tagging them, that type of thing, where you can keep the conversation going, keep yourself top of mind with them. And if you can do that, once again, you have turned a simple acquaintance or someone you met on an occasion who may not remember you after a certain period of time, you've cemented yourself in their mind, so they have now become, in a way, a professional connection that to some extent could aid or assist in generating an opportunity for you in the future.